Welcome to this explainer. If you've ever been part of a fast-growing company, you already know that scaling a product org is, well, it's almost never a smooth ride. Today, we're jumping right into what it actually takes to scale effectively. We're talking about moving past that fragile tribal knowledge we all rely on early on and replacing it with a concrete, intentional system.
Okay, let's dive into this. It's the ultimate paradox of organizational growth, right? Every single product leader hits this wall eventually. Your team triples in size, you finally have the budget, way more hands on deck. But unexpectedly, the speed of actually making good decisions just plummets. You hired all these people to move faster, but suddenly everything feels like it's stuck in mud. So what's actually going on here? Finding the true root cause is absolutely step one. To understand that massive drop in velocity, we've got to bust a major myth right off the bat. This is almost never a talent issue. The real problem, it's that the informal coordination that works perfectly for 10 people, quietly, and I mean almost invisibly, breaks when you hit 50. Think about it. With 10 people, everybody knows everything. That's tribal knowledge. You literally just shout across the desk or drop a quick Slack. But at 50 people, those informal systems completely shatter. Skilling successfully means facing this reality head-on. You have to replace that fragile tribal knowledge with a real, durable operating system. So, the crucial point is that this breakdown demands a formal solution. Enter the product operating model. By definition, this is exactly how a product organization operates to deliver outcomes through its investments. And we're not talking about some vague corporate speak processes here. A real operating model rigidly defines the roles, the specific cadences, and most importantly, how decisions actually flow. It's the architectural bridge that guarantees your high-level strategy actually hits the ground floor of execution without getting totally lost in the noise. But having a model is just step one. Who actually owns the thing? Listen, the head of product or the CPO absolutely must own this operating model. You cannot just delegate this to some disconnected administrative branch. Why? Because if centralized ownership is missing, human nature just takes over. Every single product team will literally reinvent their own isolated way of working. And once teams are running on totally different models, trying to get organizational alignment isn't a natural byproduct of work anymore. It morphs into an exhausting full-time job for everyone involved. And honestly, the pain of missing that centralized model has caused a massive ripple effect across the entire industry. 760%. That is just a staggering growth statistic, and it represents a huge shift in how companies are realizing they need to operate to survive. And this brilliantly illustrates the total explosion of the product operations function. From 2019 to 2025, the number of professionals with product operations in their LinkedIn title shot up by that 760%, surging to nearly 49,000 people. Product ops used to be thought of as this behind-the-scenes support function, but because of those exact scaling pains we just talked about, it's moved to the absolute center of how product orgs scale. Somebody has to own the connective tissue of the organization, the data, the rituals, and the flow of context between your strategy and your delivery. So what happens when that connective tissue fails? Well, you end up with disconnected context points. Picture the chaos in a real company. Team A discovers a massive insight about why users are churning. But because they're working in a silo, Team B goes right ahead and makes a massive strategy bet that completely contradicts that churn insight. Meanwhile, Team C is locked into a rigid roadmap commitment built on completely outdated assumptions. When these vital pieces of context are disconnected, they become toxic. They inevitably collide, leading to conflicting priorities, stepping on toes, and some seriously expensive rework. It is the ultimate symptom of a broken operating system. Which brings us to this incredibly powerful quote. At scale, the expensive failure is not a bad decision. It is a decision made without the context that already exists somewhere in the org. I really want that to sink in for a second. It's tragic, right? The exact answer you needed was literally already inside the building, but the person making the call just couldn't see it. This is exactly why a leader's true job isn't to make every single decision, it's to make context flow. Your goal is to make sure every single team can see exactly how their daily work ladders up to the broader strategy. Let's move to and see how this builds into actionable solutions. How do we actually fix this? I'll tell you right now, you cannot scale alignment by just throwing more meetings onto the calendar. That is the old way, trying to brute force alignment through endless syncs and stale static slides. The new way? You scale with the shared system, much like Specky's product graph.
In this modern approach, your strategy, your OKRs, discovery work, and final delivery are all deeply connected within the software itself, not just copy-pasted between a dozen disconnected tools.
And that's really the fundamental bet behind tools like Specky. Real-time portfolio visibility is just infinitely more valuable than a stale presentation assembled at midnight before a board call. I mean, when your signals, your key decisions, and your roadmap all live in one single connected model, leaders get an instant, real-time picture of their entire portfolio. No more scrambling for days to build outdated slide decks. The data's live, the context is crystal clear, and decisions can be made swiftly and with absolute confidence.
Which leaves us with a final, provocative question to reflect on. When your org inevitably slows down, what's your first instinct? Almost always it's to go out and hire more people. But as we've explored in this explainer, throwing more headcount at a broken system just breaks it faster. The true highest leverage move you can make is to fix your operating model, to find exactly how decisions get made, connect the context those decisions depend on, and finally break down those silos. Because if you get that right, the exact same team you have today will ship better products faster than ever before. So ask yourself, are you just adding headcount, or are you actually building an operating system for success? Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.